Hello and welcome to the Natanya G podcast. I'm your host, Natanya G, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey towards lifelong health and vitality. With nearly 30 years in the fitness and wellness industry, I've had the privilege of working coast to coast, meeting incredible professionals, mentors, and leaders. My goal is to bring their expertise to you, offering not just information, but practical tools you can apply in your own life. On this podcast, we'll interview a variety of professionals, each with unique approaches and specialties. I believe everyone is unique, and what works for one person might not work for another. True success happens when you match who you are with what you do. My next guest is Nina Ray Moore. She is the creator of the Live Well Longevity Model. She's also a really good friend of mine and mentor and has been a pivotal part in my journey towards wellness. Her model provides clients the education, tools, and resources needed to have a longer and more fulfilled life. I'm excited to speak to Nina about her pillars of wellness, the benchmarks she uses to help people live a more fulfilled life and also healthier life until the very end, and also find out about what she does to contribute to our community in Los Angeles. All pretty incredible things, some great tips coming your way, and let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Natanya G podcast. My name is Natanya G. This is a place where we invite you on our pursuit to lifelong health and vitality. We not only go over all the information that's out there, but the application and the individuals that have made it happen in their lives and those that have facilitated it. We are from the belief that everyone is different. And when you match what you do with who you are, that's where the magic happens. All right, I'm excited to be here again. Especially excited and feel really privileged to be sitting across from one of my dear friends, Nina Moore. I wanted to invite Nina on this podcast because Nina has been a huge inspiration, not only to me, but I'd probably say hundreds, thousands, maybe people out there. She is a longevity coach, health coach. She's also a personal trainer, and she's been a key part of my wellness journey, and she's helped me along the way. And I think it's important for us to get her information out there. So I'm excited to just dive in with you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to spend some time chatting with you today.
Me too. And this is the only time we get to see each other.
I know.
We're so busy. It's like I haven't seen you. So I think the first thing I wanted to start by asking you is, one of the things that you have been key in my programming, and I know others, is understanding recovery. And we spoke to Maria Rogers, and she is fabulous when it comes to running programming. It was just, again, such a treat to have her on here sharing her knowledge. One of the quotes that you used with me, and I use it often, is you get your greatest gains in your recovery. Right. And that really made it set in for me. Maybe you do need to take some days off, Natanya. Maybe you're extremely tired because you're working and training all the time. And I started thinking about that. So that was huge in my life. So if we were to apply that to running, let's just say, Maria suggested that we run 5 days a week, 30 minutes. This is for beginners, somebody just starting, intervals. How would you manage their recovery? What would you tell that person? I love that you're going out and running. It's great you're getting healthy. Here's what I would suggest in regards to your recovery.
Yeah. So great question.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when they think about recovery, they just think about it in relationship to their running schedule, right? So if I'm running 5 days a week, I'm taking 2 or 3 days off. But we really have to look at the totality of someone's volume. Like, how much work are you doing? What are your strength training days? What are your running days? What are you devoting any time to mobility? What's your sleep like? What's your stress like? All of those things are huge factors in a person's recovery. So I would say that, especially with somebody who's starting off with a running program, like, mobility becomes really critical because we want to make sure that the muscles have the ability to return to their natural length-tension relationship. That's where you're going to get your greatest.
Just for us, everybody knows, what's length tension relationship? There goes my New York length tension relationship. But
Yeah.
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 Just so anybody's listening.
There is a natural amount of stretch that a muscle needs to go through. So when we limit that stretch, the muscle cannot perform appropriately. So if it isn't able to stretch fully, then it cannot be as strong as we want it to be. So we shorten that distance often when we are strength training or we have repetitive movement patterns or we're not taking time to treat our body well and return it to those natural relationships. So I would say that, how do you program someone's recovery?
Right.
We want to really look at everything that they're doing and then make sure that, a good percentage of that, especially for someone who's new to movement and new to running.
Yeah,
that they are getting about, 40% of as much time as they're spending moving and active in their recovery as well.
Okay. So when you're talking about recovery, mobility, you're talking about stretching. What are you talking about when it comes to mobility?
Yeah. So great question. So mobility is just working on those. It can be active, static, dynamic. So that you're actually just taking the time to make sure that your body can get your muscles back to that natural length tension relationship.
Okay. So it would be like, let's say, moving in and out of like a lunge position maybe, and with reaches and just like we'd say like mobilizing like at the hip and that length tension. And okay, so not really like a workout.
Well, it can be.
It can be. That's true.
It can be, but look at your intensity.
Okay.
So I program in mobility days for myself and for my clients, and it may be 20 minutes of 30 minutes of just some active and dynamic stretching.
Right. And it makes the biggest difference because I remember I did that with you. I know I liked to do strength training, or we called it muscle training, but the mobility really made a difference. I felt like I was stronger on the days that I decided to do muscle training or strength training. Okay.
And you have to give your body a chance to rest and recover.
That makes sense to me now.
If you constantly pull on a rubber band, pretty soon what happens?
It's going to snap.
It snaps. Yeah. And so that's that elasticity that we were talking about in the length tension relationship in a muscle. Like it should be able to pull fully in order to contract so that it's strong, right?
Right. So I heard you mention sleep. Mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of information out there in sleep, and this podcast really targets somebody that wants simple information, just getting started. There's a lot of information we can go into in regards to sleep. But if I was just getting started again in a program, you being my coach, what do I need to make sure of? I get 8 hours of sleep? Like I need to, is that what it is? Just making sure I get 8 hours of sleep?
Well, again, it depends. Yeah. So we want to take a person from where are you starting? What's your baseline? So if you're getting 5 hours of sleep, for me to, suggest that you get 8 hours of sleep, that's a pretty big jump for people, right? There's typically a reason someone's only getting 5 hours of sleep. So can we make incremental increases in your sleep? Can you go from 5 hours to 5.5 hours? Right? Can you go from 5.5 hours to 6 hours? So anything that's increasing the amount of time that you're able to sleep is a win, right?
So more sleep, the better.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. So what we want to do is have people have successes, right?
Okay.
So if I suggest you go from 5 hours to 8 hours, the chances of you getting 8 hours are pretty slim, right?
Yeah.
But you can work on getting from 5 to 5.5 hours.
So there's like the ideal window is probably, from what I hear, based upon that particular individual and what works for them. And if you see like an ideal addition to it or something that would help them, you'll make like micro changes so that they're successful along the way.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a lot of technology out there with the sleep. Do you have your clients use that? Do you suggest your clients go and get a sleep study? Like just getting started, I want to start exploring my sleep. That's one component.
Right. So just getting started, let's look at what's working for you and what isn't working for you. Are you sleeping in a cool, comfortable room? That is suggested to be about 68 degrees.
Okay.
I would venture to say most people are not, that they're warm sleeping, that the temperature in their room is hotter than it should be.
Especially with the dogs in the bed.
Yeah.
The dogs in the bed is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Are you sleeping in a dark room? Do you have blackout curtains or shades? or is there light creeping in? Have you been on devices the hour or two before you sleep? So that blue light is stimulating to your brain. So your brain is not really shutting down enough to give you time to get into a calm, restful state.
Okay. So these are all things that you just have your clients just check and just make sure
Yeah, what we want to do is see where the person is.
Yeah.
And what's the low-hanging fruit. Right? So if I'm a hot sleeper and I'm sleeping in a room that's 75 degrees, what can I do to get that room to 68? Can I take some of the sheets off, the comforter, the blanket, the sheets that most people just habitually have on their bed that may not even, and then they end up kicking them off in the middle of the night, right? Your partner's all bundled up and you're warm. You're trying to get, the sheets and the cover off of you.
So I don't need all of this tacky stuff to get sleep. I know, because there's a lot out there. It can get a little confusing.
Yeah, it's very attractive, all of this stuff, all of the, bells and whistles, and we feel like we have to have it all. Start simply. That's where you're going to find success.
I think that's a really important message, because I know there's a ton of information out there right now, not just on sleep, but on human performance in general.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you get so overwhelmed. I know for myself, not speaking for everybody, because I listen to other mentors, other podcasts, and sometimes there's so much that you can do. It becomes overwhelming, and you're like, I'm just not going to do anything.
Yeah.
So I really like how you mentioned, keep it simple. What's the temperature? What can you do? First thing, can you get a lighter blanket? How's the light? Get a sleep mask or something? Yeah. Okay.
Eye masks are great.
Okay.
Earplugs. I sleep with a snoring dog. So
your dog snores?
My dog snores. So I brush my teeth and I put my earplugs in because I know that her sounds are going to be disruptive to my sleep. The other thing that I think people overlook is being hydrated, right? So if you're dehydrated, you're not sleeping well. So make sure that you're getting adequate amounts of good old H2O. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So I was looking at your website, which I love.
Thank you.
And front page and center is inspiring others to maximize their human potential. And that's a really powerful statement. There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you when you say that? I like to maximize individuals' human potential.
Yeah. So if you ask me big picture, I really want the world to be a better place, right? And I think that starts when people are happiest and they're performing at their best. When we are, as individuals, performing at our best and feeling good, then we're more apt to take care of the world around us.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I was just getting started, I hear this word, which we do talk about a lot, longevity, or your longevity coach, which I love. What would you say the components of longevity are? If you were to say this is what it is, because that's just living longer.
Yeah. So there are two real components of longevity. One is your lifespan, the number of years that you will live. The other is your health span, and that's the number of years that you will live in good health. Ideally, we want those two things to intersect at the same time. In other words, I'm living well until my lifespan is over, right?
Yeah.
Most of us, as we see now, have an extended lifespan. People are living longer just because of all of the technology that we have and means of extending life, probably long beyond the person's quality of life. So they're living longer, but they're incapacitated.
Right. I see that all the time.
Yeah. So we want to be able to make sure that people are living longer, but they're also enjoying those years.
Yeah. So to be able to move in freedom, getting up off the floor.
Independence.
Going up the stairs, not needing to. Yeah. Independence.
Just independence.
Absolutely. Till the very last day. And you know what I found with that, to have a conversation? I found the key determining factor in a lot of my clients that are in their 70s or 80s, and it's like, how old are you? Like, they're still active. They have like some activity that they're obsessed with. There's like a really direct purpose. Either it's motocross,
pickleball. Everybody's obsessed.
Like, it's really fun. Baseball is another one. another client likes to car race. He's like obsessed with racing his Porsche, which I think is great.
Yeah.
And these are older, individuals, and they just want to get better at this one thing, like this activity. And I think that's really a key, is to find something that you like, and when it comes to movement, I guess, and then keep trying to improve it.
Yeah, I have a couple of 80-year-olds who are still actively working. Like, they are out there presenting to the public or their lawyers, whatever. And that is a huge driver for them. Like, they want to still be able to, quote unquote, perform in their work, so that they don't get tired, or that when they're traveling, the travel doesn't beat them up. And so they come back and they feel like they're exhausted. They're energized, and they're giving good energy out there. And they want to be able to still have value and make a contribution to the world.
Yeah. So going back to longevity, now I understand it. What are the different components? So if I'm getting started, I'm like, this longevity stuff sounds good. I'm going to get started in it. What would be the components that you would focus on as my longevity coach?
Yeah.
What are the things? Yeah.
So I tell people, what you're doing today will really have the greatest impact in your life 10 years from now. So what you're doing for your 40-year-old self will really impact your 50-year-old self. So start to think about the things that you want to be able to do when you're 50. And those are the things that we're going to work toward in your 40s. So just getting good baseline information, make sure that your blood work is on target, and make sure that you have like a good nutrition plan. And then set smart goals as far as what you want to achieve. If that is being able to play with your grandchildren, then what does that really mean to you? Like, what specifically does that mean?
Yeah.
Is that playing baseball? Is that, being able to get off the floor when you're playing with a 2 or 3-year-old? It has to have an emotional attachment to the person in order for it to be something that they really want to work toward.
Yeah. That's a really common one. I want to be able to stay playing with my grandchildren.
Yeah.
Or keep up with them, or even keep up with my children in general.
Yeah, because grandparents are out doing the things, because a lot of people are retiring early to enjoy life. Like, they're enjoying their health span.
Yeah.
They want to participate in their grandchildren's lives. And that's a huge, huge emotional driver for people.
So when we talk about nutrition and blood work, when I'm just getting started, what type of, should I just go get regular blood work from my physician? What do you typically recommend I should start with? Because I'm assuming you have that as just a baseline. And I kind of like that, because it gives you some real information. And for me, I'm a numbers person, so I guess it would motivate me as well. I'm like, where do I need to be? I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
So what is what would you recommend for somebody with that?
Like, understanding your triglycerides, are those numbers good? What's your A1C? What's your blood glucose? Things like that. Just really.
What do each of those show? Like, simply.
Yeah. So, triglycerides and blood glucose are really, really related to your heart. Like, how hard is my heart working? Am I getting good regulation in my system, in my digestive system, things like that. So really, really important to have good baseline. And, A1C is related to diabetes, type 2 diabetes, which a lot of people find out when it's, I don't want to say it's too late, but it's critical.
Is there, I won't ask you about specific ranges, because I'm assuming then there's always a norm, but then there's always variations of it. So are those the main key markers that you take a look at as a longevity coach, and you track it with your client?
Yeah, we're also looking at, just your respiratory rate. Like, are you able to do cardio? And what level of cardio are you doing?
Yeah. I'm able to do cardio, not as much as I used to.
But again, everything is relative to the person, right?
Yeah. I think one of the things I'm really excited to see is more people getting involved in strength training and knowing the benefits of it, which I'm pretty excited about, especially females. Like, there's no longer that myth anymore. Like, you're going to get big and bulky, like, and really embracing that, especially as we tend to get older.
Yeah.
It's really important.
So one of my favorite sayings is that muscle is the currency of aging. So if you want to age well, you have to realize that you need to build and maintain muscle. And that, myth that you can't build muscle as you age is just that. It's a myth. You can absolutely put on muscle.
All right, I want to put on muscle. Tell me how.
Yeah, so you got to overload the body. You've got to pick up some things, but also you need to do a mix of things. Like HIIT training is great for people, but in moderation. Like, where are you? What is your body capable of doing? So you have to find out where you are before you can know where you're starting from, right? So we look at, what am I currently doing? What are my current capabilities? And then build from there.
Right.
Right. So you and I probably starting from different places. You're probably well above me.
You need to stop it.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like, two people can present very similarly and be very different.
Yeah. One of the other things that I wanted to highlight, which is so beautiful about just you as a coach and a trainer. I've recommended some of my clients to work with you. And the number one response is, I never knew what personal training was.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what I've been receiving these last years.
Yeah. It's a very personal relationship. It's not just somebody who shows up, but you have to. One of the things I pride myself on is I really try to get to know my client.
Right.
Who are you, and what's important to you? So those first couple of sessions, I'm just a sponge. I'm just trying to figure out who they are and how I can assist them. So I'm not there to tell anybody how to fix themselves, because we're all, the expert on ourselves. They're the driver. I'm in the driver's seat, and I'm the GPS. I'm just helping direct them to that path.
I think it's more than that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I mean, because we've both been in the fitness wellness industry for how long? I'm like 27 years.
I'm 28 years, somewhere in there.
East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah.
You're from, yep. When it comes to personal training, I feel like it's evolved a lot from just the rep counter, splitting up body parts, things like that. I think it's really evolved into what you said, a more personalized experience. How do I make sure that I am working with someone that's qualified? Like, I work with, let's say somebody's listening to us right now and they're like, I work with a trainer. What do you mean? I know I'm receiving personal training. How would I know that I'm not? Like, or is there something better? Like, what would you say the main differences are, or what somebody should look out for?
Yeah.
Like, what you do.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. So, when you've been in an industry and you've worked with, I would say we probably both have worked with thousands of clients over the years, you start to understand that it's more than movement, nutrition, and regeneration. You know that I've built my platform on 6 pillars. That's movement, regeneration, nutrition, health markers, which we were talking about, community, which is really important, and mindset. So you start to look at everything that affects the person, because it's all a part of their wellness. So I'm not just looking at a person's fitness, I'm looking at their wellness.
And I know that there's different types of training. Like, there's I'm going to put you through 3 reps of lunges, of chest presses, of things like that. I know that you tend to cycle through different types of training. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because they've said, I'm doing exercises I haven't done with any trainer before. She's having me do these weird from ground to standing exercises. And at first I hated them, but they feel great. Do you want to talk a little bit to that?
Yeah, well, it's all goal specific, so based upon what the person's goal is. But I also think that you've got to be able to move the body naturally. It doesn't typically work in isolation, right? So very rarely am I going to be laying flat on my back lifting, 150 pounds off my chest. In other words, an isolated chest press.
For you.
For anybody. Right?
Oh, okay.
Right? So the chances of someone needing to do that movement, pretty isolated. Yeah. But am I potentially having to push something away? Something's falling. I need to catch it and press it away. It's a safety issue. There's a higher likelihood of a person needing to do that. Ground is standing. If I fall and I break something, can I get up off the floor with, a limb that might not be working properly, right? So those kinds of things. So I'm looking at what happens with a person throughout their lifespan. Like, first of all, what are your limitations? What are the things that we need to fix first, right? So, and that's where you come in, and that's where it's a beautiful relationship because people, you can go, you take your clients and you get them up and running, and then you trust them with me. And then likewise, I have clients that I think, this isn't working quite the way that we wanted to. Go spend some time with Natanya and we'll work in concert.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of stuff.
I like that teamwork stuff.
Yeah.
I'm all about the team.
Yeah.
Community. I just did a post on this about team workouts, corporate workouts, things like that. As you know, I used to be a group exercise instructor.
A great one.
Proud of it. Talk a little bit, because, there is magic in group movement. There definitely is. And I've seen that. People with music moving to a beat all together, the energy in the room. I know the instructor is key. Some people just love classes. I know it went away for a little while in COVID and we were all doing like on the screen, but it's definitely back. It's strong, and some people like to stay at home, but there's a lot of people that like to get out and take classes and be with other people. Now I'm talking about fitness and exercise. Are you talking about something bigger, like community? What would be some things you would get to know about a client in regards to community, like make them go to or ask them to go to like certain groups or something? Or is it?
So it's both. So to speak to your point, I myself walk right by a spinning bike to go take a spinning class in a group environment. Why? Because the energy, the music, the camaraderie, the instructor, it all just makes you feel good. You get caught up in the rhythm of the room and the energy in the room.
Right.
It's much better than me spinning in my home gym, right? In isolation, because I don't know about a lot of people, but I spend a lot of time in isolation because I'm still working partly online and still working one-on-one. So to be in a group environment is very good for my spirit, right? Yeah. I feel a part of something, and we are meant to live in community. The other part of community is making sure that people feel connected to something, because it's good for your identity, how you identify as self, and being able to contribute to something of greater good than yourself. We all feel better when we've done something to help someone else, or there's a group effort to make a difference.
And that makes me think about the charity that you are a part of.
Shoes for the Homeless?
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, I saw that. I was like, I have somewhere to bring my shoes. So do you want to, I think you do that yearly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a sneakerhead.
Absolutely.
Proud of it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting how it all came about. Like, there's a large homeless population in LA County, probably number 2 in the country. And I saw this organization. I thought, that speaks to my soul because I love shoes. This is one way that I can make a difference, be a part of something. And so it's a yearly shoe drive where shoes are donated by great people like yourself and others who clean out their closets. It's just such an easy thing to do. Doesn't cost you anything. You feel good about doing it. And you know that it's a direct benefit to a person. Nothing's being sold. There's no exchange. You just are giving somebody a better quality of life.
Yeah.
And we know 2 things. For the homeless, their feet are their modes of transportation. That's how they get about. We also know that disease enters the feet very easily. And so when people who are unhoused get sick, they go to the emergency room. And so there's that, cost on society because we all have to pay for that.
It's such a great, when I saw that, I was like, wow, see, that's something that Nina Moore would do. I have like 1 or 2 more questions.
Sure.
I guess one is a statement. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. When we ran track together, and I know I dragged you on the track. I was like, I'm on the track team. You're going to come with me. This like rock star, like legend sprinter. And I'm like, come with me. Come with me to the track. Like, and then,
and it was a great time.
Yeah, it was great. And then we do the 200 and I'm still coming around the bends and people are like, well, get off the track. Natanya's still coming. And I remember
community.
Yeah,
right?
Community. It helped me so much. But you helped me so much because I remember struggling so hard. Like I was like, to really get up to the speeds that I needed to. And one of the things that I think makes you so great as a coach and as a trainer, and that's why I wanted to invite you on here, is not just that you care, but you get how to support each individual. I remember coming around the curve with you and being like, okay, here's where she breaks away, because I know your secret sauce. She breaks away. And you were like, come on, Natanya, stride for stride. Stay with me.
Yeah.
Stride for stride. Stride for stride. And that really, I take that with me. And I consider that also when I'm working with people. And that helped me so much. Anyone else would be like, bye-bye. Yeah. Like, see you at the finish line. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then also, if you were to talk to somebody just getting started in their program, I spoke to Maria last week. We were saying, just wanting to get started running, simple things that I need to do. What would you tell somebody? This stuff, I need to get healthy. I haven't been able to get off the couch. I'm overwhelmed with information. I don't know where to begin. I don't want to go to a gym. There's no trainers around me. Mm-hmm. What are some simple things that I can do to get started?
Yeah. So great question. And I would tell someone to start asking themselves the 5 whys. I want to get healthy. Why do you want to get healthy? Answer that question. Then the next question comes. I want to get healthy because I want to play with my grandchildren. Okay. Why do you want to play with your grandchildren? Because I want to be a part of their lives. What does being a part of their lives do for you? Right? So you get down to the nitty gritty and then you have your reason, right? So once you have that thing that really is important to you, then start finding out what's the low-hanging fruit. Okay, I need to get moving. I need to get up off the couch. Perfect. Doesn't cost me anything to go start walking around the block. I'm going to walk around the block for the first week. I'm going to walk around the block once. Second week, I'm going to walk around the block twice. Keep progressing from there. Okay, now I know I need to add some flexibility to that. I'm going to start stretching. Just sit on the floor, stretch for 10 or 15 minutes. Do it while you're watching TV or you're doing something else, something mindless that doesn't make it feel like another thing you're adding into your already packed schedule.
Right.
So a lot of times I listen to podcasts and I'm on my spin bike or I'm, doing something that, or I'm stretching, right? Because I can do that and still stay present with something else. And I think, people tend to overshoot the goal, right? Start simple. Grab that low-hanging fruit. I keep saying that, but it's so true. Grab something that you can be successful at and then move up from there.
Yeah.
And there are so many resources out there that you can find if you want to start a simple strength training program. Google,
I know, it's at our fingertips now.
It's at our fingertips.
No more VHS tapes.
Right.
Oh my God, that aged me.
Right. I was there with you. So
buns of steel.
Yeah. So there are many, many ways. And, you made this point earlier, like we're so caught up into all of the technology and we have to have, fitness trackers and, Apple Watches and you don't. You just need to have the will and the desire to get started.
Okay.
And then also, reach out to a professional. I tell people all the time, listen, I want to work myself out of a job, so I want to help you achieve your goals. And guess what? If you achieve that goal and that's all you want, great. But if you want to set a new set of goals, let's go get after it. And that's typically what happens. Yeah. You and I've had clients for 20 years.
Yep.
They keep resetting their goals because they're really enjoying life. They have a great health span and they want to keep doing it.
Yeah. I love how you're giving a whole complete program. I guess my last question is speaking on the other side of things. You're a seasoned trainer. You've been a mentor, teacher. if I was thinking about getting started, as a personal trainer in Los Angeles, that's where we're in, or maybe anywhere, was there any advice that you would give someone now that you've been, how many years later, if you were to go back and be like, let me tell you, this is what you got it. That's what my dad, let me tell you.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
Unfortunately, our industry is unregulated. And so people think that they can, just because they were a great athlete, that they can be a trainer. I would suggest that you go get nationally certified. Like, find yourself a really good certifying body and get educated, because there are so many things that can make a difference between being a good trainer and a great trainer. I recently sat for the NASM certification. Again, I hadn't taken it in 26 years. And I went back and I took it, and I was so amazed at the information that they are teaching new trainers, that I had to go out and do different classes and different, certs to get. And all of it is there under one umbrella. So that would be my first piece of advice. And then find someone to mentor you, somebody who really, you've watched them or you've heard about them, and work with them and under them and have them just teach you, because there's so many nuances to it. And I know for me, that is the greatest joy when I can help someone. Really, I tell you don't need to make the same mistakes I made. Only one of us needs to fall in that hole, and I've already done it. So let's just get you to the other side. So I think that's a great way to get yourself up and running.
Okay. Anything else you want to share before I wrap it up?
No, this has been fun. I hope you'll have me back.
Of course I will. How does somebody get in contact with you? Let's just say, I know you're based in Los Angeles, but if I'm in New York or I'm somewhere else, can I still work with you? It sounds like what you got to offer is good. How does somebody get in contact with you? I'll put it also, on the post on the blog, on the information.
Yeah. So all of my socials, Nina Ray Moore, spelled RAI.com. You can reach me on my website, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. I do lots of virtual work. I'm doing some health coaching with people. So just going beyond just the quote unquote fitness arena, just in looking at, helping people with their entire health span.
Yeah. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
All right. That's it.